Hello, everyone. This is Namura. Thank you for joining me. And I'm here to bring another message from Spirit. We are, of course, very much in the energies of the spring equinox and the fall equinox in the southern hemisphere. And I would like to share a few of the insights and images that Spirit has given me in the past few days, and also we'll see what comes as I am recording this. One message that came quite strongly is about a shift in frequency, and we hear this very often. It's all the time almost. There are all these shifts that occur and sometimes are more or less turbulent. However, I felt this shift very specific. First of all, I felt it very much a reflection of this change of seasons from winter to spring, and from the watery Piscean energy to the fiery Aries sign that is coming to rule the next period. And the image that I was given was that of an ocean. I was actually being part of that ocean. I was a wave in the ocean. And of course, the waves are coming and going, and they are springing and then falling down again into the water. And there was all this sense of almost like not getting anywhere by being this wave in the ocean. A sense of being disheartened almost. And I know I've talked about this in my previous message too. It's like trying again and again and again to rise above this body of water that you are part of, and yet being continuously drawn back into it. And this, of course, is not entirely bad, and it has a lot of aspects and facets. But further to this, I was seeing myself as this wave again, but a wave that was able to, if I can say so, jump higher out of the water. And I had this sensation of the top of the wave being connected with the sunlight and receiving these rays of the sun just by being that bit higher out of the water. And of course, then I was dropping back into the ocean, but it just brought me that awareness that actually getting that bit higher to reach to that connection that brings you a different perspective and also a different type of energy, it's not that far. And further to this, I was seeing things from a higher perspective, and I was seeing all this ocean with all these waves being basically in a glass. Water in a glass had some sort of turmoil in it. And again, this reminded me of the fact that there is that part of ourselves, if we want to call it our higher self, our soul, that is watching us from a distance with all our trials and tribulations, and from that level, there's no right or wrong. There's no judgment to start with. But it also gave me that sense that we shouldn't take things so seriously all the time. And not everything that we give time and energy to is actually worth it, our time or energy. At least maybe not to the extent that we get involved in it. This image of being that wave higher and connecting to the sun, higher than everything else in the ocean, is also tying in with another experience that I had recently, where I was embodying an eagle, and I was flying very, very high up in the sky and very close to the sun, and really enjoying again this warmth and light from the sun on my body, shining from above. And at some point I was just really like plunging. You know how sometimes these prey birds, they just plunge to catch something on the ground. And as this eagle, I still had a consciousness of myself as human, and I was scared that, gosh, if I'm going to plunge so fast, I might crash and get hurt. But as soon as I had this sense of fear, there was also this other part of me, more like the eagle spirit in me, that was like, yeah, but you have wings. You don't have to worry about falling from high up because you can fly. Nothing can touch you. And you are meant to fly. That's your purpose. That's your nature. This was very much about regaining personal power. And I feel that this shift in frequency that is happening now is enabling this power retrieval for many, many of us. And of course, this is a result of the work that we've been doing. It's not necessarily coming out of nowhere. If anything, I would say we are creating this frequency shift collectively. Again, coming back to my previous message, this is this quantum shift that I was talking about, or one of the quantum shifts that we are creating collectively by doing all this work on ourselves. This new energy that we are connecting with, this new frequency, it feels very different to what we've experienced lately. Because what we've experienced has been quite heavy. And many of us have felt a bit like being in the dark and really having to struggle to see the light and to be the light. And yes, just doing all this work a bit blindfolded. And this has been going on for quite a long time. And as I was saying before, this is why many of us have sort of come to the end of their resources of all sorts. So it feels very much like we are moving into this higher frequency that is and feels a lot lighter and clearer. It's this sense of finally being able to breathe again and to have clear vision. And speaking of which, there is this sense of an upgrade of our senses and also of our body altogether. Our bodies, our physical bodies, have undergone a lot of shifts and they had this need to constantly adjust to the ever changing energies and frequencies, and this is of course not easy to withstand. There are some of us who are consciously using their bodies as a fine-tuning instrument to perceive these energies. And I'm sure there are many others who are just doing it without particularly realizing intuitively. However, this is one of the messages that our bodies are becoming more fine-tuned, and it is becoming more important, if not critical, I want to say, to take care of our bodies to a level where we can actually use them as an instrument for working with these energies, because in the end everything goes through us, through our bodies. And also the reality that we are manifesting is to a large extent an extension of our bodies. It feels like in these new energies, we will also find it easier to take care of ourselves, just because we are able to regain that connection with the brightness, with the light, with the clear air that gives us the space, basically, to start creating rather than just trying to mend, repair, protect, heal, and so forth. And of course, there's always a combination of these. They go hand in hand, but we are getting into a different type of energy. This will bring a lot of abundant manifestation around us, but it feels like this manifestation comes almost like a side effect of this higher frequency that we are engaging with, and from us just integrating and opening ourselves to this new energy, rather than trying to purposefully manifest a very specific outcome in our reality. We do have this period of the Mercury retrograde and Venus retrograde, which means that we'll still be looking into the past and tying up loose ends and so forth. And of course, Venus does have to do a lot with our self-worth and with also this material comfort and beauty around us, and Mercury has to do with communication. So of course there's still work to do. It's never ending, but it becomes lighter, and the focus shifts from just being super immersed in trying to heal to being able to put our energy into creation. What was coming very strongly was this presence of the Merkaba, and there is guidance from spirit to consciously connect with our Merkabas, and this is mainly through our intention and once you set an intention, just keep it in the background. It's almost like a continuous intention, if I can say so, that will keep us consciously connected to our Merkabas. The significance of this connection with the Merkaba at this point is exactly to do with what I was saying before about our body being shifted and upgraded. Now, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I've experienced, the Merkaba is being utilized to create the programs for our bodies, if I can say so, from our souls when it is being incarnated, and the other way around when it's coming out of the body. It's almost like these new frequencies are bringing, and these new energies are bringing some light codes that are being transferred into our bodies through the Merkaba, and not just transferred but embedded and anchored into our physical bodies through the Merkaba, through the DNA, and through this vibration that the Merkaba can trigger, especially through our bones. I often get this sense of the bones being used to create this hum, this vibration in our body when there's a shift of frequency. And this hum, of course, the bones contain the bone marrow, which has stem cells in it. Yeah, so the stem cells are the cells that are not informed particularly, and they have the potential to turn into different type of cells. So by creating these vibrations in the bones, these are being transmitted to the bone marrow and to the stem cells that then are creating further our bodies. For quite a long time now, I've been guided to work a lot with grounding, with the earth, with the elementals, with Pan. And this was very helpful. And I'm sure many of us have had this need of returning to the earth. This has been going on for quite a while now, as I said. And it just felt like you keep doing it, and there's still more to do, and it's still not enough. But suddenly now, I just feel like it's enough, at least for now. And we are moving back into these quite higher realms, but from a much more grounded position, in a way that we are much better equipped to handle these energies and not to get lost in them, because it's quite easy to get lost and to end up using these higher realms and connections as just a way of escaping the human life, which is not particularly pleasant for many of us. So we're shifting our focus from the base chakra to the higher chakras, again, the crown and the third eye. And this is creating a balance, with having done all this work in the lower lens, so to say. And it's all bringing about this state of a balanced heart. Of course, what we are experiencing is part of this karmic cycle closure that we are working towards. Speaking of being able to see more clearly from a more grounded point of view and to embody these energies and frequencies in a healthier and more organic way, I feel like this period of turmoil that we've been through, this happiness and this continuous struggle to see the light in the darkness, has a lot to do, or has had a lot to do with stripping some illusions that we might have acquired, or some delusions almost, that we might have acquired in this very fast process of ascension. It's not hard to get lost in these realms, especially when it's all happening so fast that we don't really have time to catch up. It's almost like some of us have created this new frame for themselves in their minds, and a lot of it is going in the collective too. There's a specific discourse in these spiritual circles, and not all of it is particularly healthy. I think that yes, we did need it to lose some of this discourse too, and by being more grounded, more stable within ourselves, to be able to identify clearly the truth of things, the truth within ourselves and all around ourselves, and to be able to identify it collectively at a larger scale. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying all spiritual people are completely blinded and in this spiritual bypass, but there are quite a few. And those people are very valuable people through their gifts, through their good intentions, through their willingness to contribute to everyone's well-being. And to some extent, all of us have been more or less prone to some of these illusions. So don't get me wrong, I'm not throwing stones, I'm not judging. It's part of the process. As I said, it's not that easy to always see straight when things are shifting so fast all the time, and we don't have any reference because everything is new. It's part of our work to peel layers at all levels and in all ways, and to be able to not hang on to anything, but rather just to open ourselves to what comes, and almost like offer ourselves to our higher self to guide us and show us the way, because they do have a different perspective and they are at that level where they're not affected by judgment and distortions that our mind creates. All this is also a matter of divine timing, and divine timing is always the reaching of a critical point, a sum or a merger of factors that come together in a specific point, and by coming together they enable, they trigger these shifts. So divine timing doesn't have anything to do with the linear time that we might want to think of. It's more, as I said, a combination of events and situations that almost like create an algorithm. It's like a puzzle that comes together and suddenly you see the whole picture and it makes sense. And then it's all sorted, it's done. And now, as I was saying last time too, it does feel like we are reaching that point of all these conditions coming together and being, all these conditions being met, all the factors coming together to create yet another shift. And I feel like all these things that we've been trying to manifest for quite a while and just didn't particularly seem to work are going to work, but almost like suddenly grow unexpectedly. It's just because we've put so much energy and time into that, which seemed to have gone to waste. But in reality, it's not going to waste. Nothing is ever going to waste. It just waited and needed this divine timing, this conjunction of energies, of events to be able to come into manifestation. One thing that Spirit says is to trust that all this work is paying off. I keep getting this message again and again, and to try to continue doing your work without needing to see results, almost like unburdening ourselves from this need of seeing some results and then releasing the judgment that comes with it. Part of it is because we're sort of torturing us needlessly, but also because we are blocking what is meant to be manifested or what is being manifested through all our work and energy by trying to give it a specific shape and form, by trying to put it in a specific box, wanting it to look in a specific way. We are coming into a quite interesting period, I would say. It's hard to really see what things are going to look like, and also it feels like we don't need to either. But I do have this sense of excitement about it, and also a sense, as I said, of peace and relief, of a sense of ease and of being able to breathe and to enjoy and to just that sensation of being outside when it's warm and nice and the sun is shining and everything is all right, basically. So with that being said, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helped. And I hope to see you next time. Much love to all. Namura.